A girl named Louisa went to a wealthy family to apply for a job as a nanny. Unexpectedly, her skirt split open during the interview. To cover up the embarrassment, she quickly took off her jacket and tied it around her waist. Just then, the master of the house walked over and greeted her enthusiastically. Seeing how conservative Louisa was, the wealthy lady immediately offered her a high salary of $500 per month and hired her on the spot. Louisa's job was to provide personal care for the lady's son, who had been paralyzed for a long time.
Hello, Louisa Clark. I'm Will Traynor.
Will's deliberate difficulties made Louisa realize that the job might not be as easy as she had imagined, but she had no choice but to accept it because her whole family was counting on her to make a living. Louisa's father was unemployed, her mother was a housewife, and her sister had gotten pregnant out of wedlock, had a child, and still wanted to go to college. The burden of the family left her no room to be picky about work. On her second day at work, Louisa learned from the doctor that apart from supervising Will's medication, she didn't have to do anything else to deserve her high salary. Louisa decided to take her sole responsibility seriously. She finally mustered up the courage to interact with Will and suggested taking him out for a walk, but he immediately rejected the idea. Louisa tentatively asked what he usually did, and Will replied that sitting was his only way of life. Faced with this answer, Louisa was at a loss for a moment. When she gathered the courage to try to talk to Will again, he expressed his wish for her not to speak in front of him. Louisa could only awkwardly leave the room, but she didn't give up easily. Every day, she would dress in various bright colors and appear in front of Will like a courting chameleon. Since being humble and pleasing didn't work, she chose to bravely be herself. At first, Will was just a bit surprised, but gradually, this unique dressing style made him almost unable to look directly at her. Unlike other people who treated him with caution, Louisa didn't treat Will as a disabled person at all. Her reckless personality often led to various funny incidents, but it also made Will's life less boring. He even began to look forward to her appearance every day, but Louisa was unaware of these subtle changes. In her eyes, Will always had an overbearing demeanor until one day, Will's ex-girlfriend and best friend came to visit him. They hesitated for a while before finally confessing to Will that they were together now. Will appeared very calm on the surface, but he was actually very upset. After the two left, Louisa heard a noise coming from the room. She hurried over to check and found that Will had shattered a photo of himself and his ex-girlfriend. As a disabled person, he couldn't even lose his temper at will, let alone give happiness to the woman he loved. Will had cut off contact with his girlfriend after his injury because he didn't want his former lover to see him like this. Louisa couldn't help but feel a bit of sympathy in her heart, but she could only complain about it in front of her boyfriend. However, her boyfriend obviously didn't care about her work and only thought about his own cycling trip to Norway, so Louisa had to figure it out on her own. She reassembled the broken picture frame, hoping to preserve that beautiful memory for Will, but this made him very angry. Louisa didn't understand why Will always kept people at a distance and armed himself with sarcastic words, but this time she chose not to tolerate it anymore. When she told Will that she only came to take care of him because she needed the money, Will surprisingly didn't argue back. Perhaps he realized Louisa's difficult life and didn't want to add insult to injury. From then on, Will's attitude changed. One day, he even took the unprecedented step of inviting Louisa to watch a movie with him while he secretly observed her reactions from the side. It was from this moment that their relationship began to transform.